Well, 3 Bolts players are in contention for an Olympic medal. We're going to do a deep dive on Brandon Hagel, Jake Guentzel, and Erik Cernak's Olympics so far on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. As always, we want to begin with a shout out to our everydayers. Those of you who tune into every single show, every single day, we love you. Appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the Hillary Knight to my Megan Keller, Greg Stephen. And Greg, the U.S. women, they're golden. God, what a game last night to get the gold medal.
Yeah, good morning. Happy Friday and USA gold, baby. Okay, #1. Here we go.
Yeah, and I also learned that you and I have very different takes on, I guess, the entertainment value of this game.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're going to be talking everything about the USA women's gold medal performance over Canada last night. We're also going to be looking ahead to the men's tournament today with some picks and predictions for the semifinals. And that leads us to our first topic of the day. There are 3 Tampa Bay Lightning players and 1 coach who still have a chance at the gold medal. They're going to be playing in the semifinals today. We have Canada and Jon Cooper, along with Brandon Hagel. We have Jake Guentzel on Team USA and Erik Cernak playing for Slovakia. Greg, let's do a deep dive on each of these players' tournaments so far. And let's start with the Americans and Jake Guentzel. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we knew going in he was going to have a big role on this team. And so far, he's gotten the ice time. He's gotten the minutes. He's skating on one of the top 2 lines with Austin Matthews and Matt Boldy. Mm-hmm. It just seems like the stats maybe haven't been there for him this year. And maybe, dare I say, Greg, maybe not having as impactful of an Olympics we thought we might see from Jake Guentzel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really did think he'd have some bigger numbers, as you've said. And like you said, I think he's getting the ice time. I don't even think it's not that he's not getting the opportunities, but yeah, much less of an impact, I think, than we had anticipated for sure. I still think he's playing well, though. I don't think he's playing poorly by any means.
Agreed.
But yeah, he's not having the role he has like on the Lightning, for example.
Yeah. It seems like it's one of those situations where maybe the play is there and the stats aren't following. It's kind of crazy because you look and he's been with Austin Matthews pretty much this entire tournament. Right. Austin Matthews is leading the USA in scoring. So it's kind of interesting that maybe some of those points aren't rubbing off. I mean, I know Matthews is having a big contribution on the power play. I think that's kind of been the interesting thing. And his other line mate, Matt Boldy, only 1 goal, 1 assist in this tournament. It's kind of in the same gate. It's interesting. Like I said, I don't think he's been bad by any means. It's one of those things where you watch the game and you kind of forget he's there sometimes just because he's just quiet. He's not generating a ton of offense. He's not, getting into dangerous areas or creating a lot of chances. He's just it feels like he's just kind of in the background to me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And part of me thinks it's just that there's just so much talent on the ice that,
sure.
It's much harder to see anyone unless you're Connor McDavid. But yeah, no, again, I think he has not played necessarily poorly, but yeah, definitely not noticeable, as you've said.
Yeah, it's interesting because a team with, the Tkachuk brothers and everybody talking about the Tkachuks and Jack Eichel and Austin Matthews and even, players like Dylan Larkin who have kind of had a spotlight on them in this tournament. Obviously, a lot of great defensemen. Team USA is stacked. It's good to see Guentzel getting ice time and that Team USA recognizes his role. I would just love to see maybe a little bit more scoring contribution from him. And there's still a chance to do that too. I think there's a chance for Guentzel to have some big tournament when it's all said and done.
Yeah, 2 more games to play here. So,
yeah. And it's interesting, Greg, because if we go to Canada, Brandon Hagel, exact same stat line as Jake Guentzel, just 1 goal in 4 games. But it's a funny matter of perspective because based on the role Brandon Hagel has been tasked with, you take that stat line and you take everything he's done for Canada, and I would say Brandon Hagel has knocked it out of the park this year.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I thought he's been actually very noticeable, and his role is obviously much different. And I would even argue he's on a team with much bigger superstars, if you will.
Sure.
And to show up and be noticeable amongst that group, I think is impressive enough. And to have a goal is plenty. And I think, like you had kind of said the other day, it kind of looked like he scored that other goal too. So.
I thought he did. I thought he did.
Right.
I mean, replay clearly showed it was Suzuki,
right.
But
he was there.
Thought at first glance that was a Brandon Hagel tip-in goal.
For sure. So, yeah, much more noticeable, I think, than Guentzel. And like you said, the stats kind of point you into the same direction. But I would, like you said, argue that Hagel has been more impactful.
Yeah, he's been their go-to penalty killer. He's usually the first person on the ice when Canada is shorthanded. They've had him play with a few different line combinations, and he looks like he's had pretty much good chemistry, with everybody. He's getting a good chunk of minutes each game. And I think, it really is a matter of perspective, Greg, because I think you watch some of the non-scoring things that he does. He's very physical. He finishes his checks. He's been forechecking really well in these Olympic Games. He's had a very active stick. Some of those things I think are a little bit more noticeable than, let's say, a Jay Guentzel role, where it's a lot of positioning, it's a lot of speed, that kind of stuff. So I feel like, Brandon Hagel maybe has had an opportunity to be more noticeable with a smaller role compared to a Jay Guentzel, where you're kind of expecting him to be a top line guy.
Right, for sure. And like you said, the penalty killing too is also huge. Like that's a big part of the team. And that's always been his role, right? I mean, that's what he does on the Lightning as well. So he's just kind of doing his job that he always does, and we see it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have probably one of those two playing for a medal or playing for a gold medal, unless there is more than one massive upset today.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a team that is capable of pulling one of those upsets, and that's Erik Cernak on Slovakia. Finally got his first point of the tournament last game. And the interesting thing to me, Greg, is on Slovakia, they're not deep. They don't have a lot of NHL talent. They have some good NHL talent,
right?
Just not a lot of it. But it's kind of funny that Erik Cernak, to me, has sort of wound up in the exact same role that he's had for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yep.
That second pair guy, that defensive specialist, the guy that just throws his body in front of shots, takes hits, is willing to have net front battles. It's kind of funny that even though you would look at him and say he's maybe the elder statesman of that defense, definitely the guy I think with the most NHL experience on the blue line. And it's kind of funny that you would just say, oh, you know what? We kind of like what he's doing in Tampa. We're just going to keep him in that role. And you know what? It's worked.
Yeah, it has. And he's notched a few points. Yeah, I mean, he's doing his job. And I think I kind of expected him to have the first pairing locked in. I think we had talked about that before this tournament even started. But obviously he's just playing his same Lightning role. And I mean, it's working. They're playing the USA. So,
yeah, he has, I would say he's contributed exactly what you would want to contribute him. And obviously, we're going to talk about Juraj Slafkovsky coming up in a little bit. But they're also getting some good contributions from Marty Fehervary and Simon Nemec in front of him. So the Slovaks are getting it done with kind of what they have. But obviously I would still say Erik Cernak playing a big role for them.
Absolutely. I mean, he's doing what he was supposed to do. And I mean, look, man, they're about to play the USA in the semis. So they're doing something right.
Yeah, they're going to need a big performance from him for sure. Greg, let's talk about the USA women. The story of the day, a big overtime comeback win over Canada to win the gold medal. And Greg, I learned beforehand, you and I have very different perspectives on this game overall. So let's get to that when we come back on Locked On Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. So here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip to 2. That's right. We're talking the whole shebang. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. Now, if you're already looking on FanDuel and looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock into this contest. And whether you're picking a team to win the whole championship or maybe just grabbing a conference title, it adds a little extra excitement to every game down the stretch. And not only can you win cash now, but your correct picks can also send you to the finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started and use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Again, go to FanDuel.com to get started or download the FanDuel app straight to your phone. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And before we get into the gold medal recap, do want to mention that we're doing something new here across the Locked On NHL network. It's called the Everydayer Club. Obviously, you love Locked On Lightning. We hope that's why you're here. Well, now the Everydayer Club gives you an opportunity to listen to our episodes ad-free. All you have to do is click the link in our show notes to get started. You'll also have a lot of exclusive content and access to the Locked On NHL Discord channel where you can talk to other fans. So again, visit the link to get started and join the Everydayer Club. All right, Greg, now to the story I think everybody is talking about today, and that is the USA women. Oh man, they have the gold. Also, wild 45 minutes for the USA women's Olympic team, winning the gold medal, and then Alyssa Liu right after that, getting the gold in figure skating. Just an absolutely insane sequence there for Team USA. But, Greg, God, what a game it was last night. Or let me say, I think it was a great game. You told me beforehand the excitement level maybe wasn't there for you in this one.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Let me preface this comment by saying I've been watching all the women's games, and I think all these women are extremely talented. I'm not taking any of that away. I think I've been watching so much men's hockey. It just feels so much slower and more monotonous. And when a game is 1-0, like it was in this game for so long, I kind of just sit there like, oh, man, let's score a goal or something, you know? And
Yeah.
What really, I think when it really hit me was when I think midway through the second, one of the girls in front of the net for USA had a wide open shot, and she shot it like 5 feet above the crossbar, and I was like, oh man, and I was ready to go to sleep, you know. But nonetheless, this game specifically a little boring for me until the very end. Like you said, I mean, it became a thriller for sure. I'm not going to take that away from it, and the USA won. Absolutely thrilled. But yeah, just I think after watching so much men's hockey, it just feels so much slower to me.
It was different. You know, I'm going to bail in and say it was different. I don't think there's anything different with the excitement level between the men's and women's game. That's just me. But I think it was like, you know, obviously USA has been a scoring juggernaut.
Yes.
And, you know, other than when they play USA, same as Canada this year. And I think this game, we talked about it yesterday. I said the two goalies were going to make a difference in this one. And, you know, and Renee Desbiens, certainly a rebound performance from the first game against USA, made some great saves, I think, early on. You know, and obviously Aaron Frankel, same thing in the USA net. So I think it was a little bit more of a sludgy game. It was definitely more of a nail biter. I can see a little bit of frustration with the offense, maybe not having as good of chances in this one for Team USA. They were getting outworked by Canada for, I would say about the first 2 periods, and then they kind of turned it on late when their backs were against the wall a little bit. But, obviously you get that tying goal with the empty net. I think that energized USA's offense a little bit. They went from kind of playing desperate at the end of the game to maybe playing a little bit more loose. And I think that's where you saw the skill level pick up. But I will say, Greg, the Megan Keller goal, God, what a move. What a dangle. 6 hits on that one. Absolutely incredible move. And it's just one of those plays, like, I feel like, there's like the Peter Forsberg shootout way back in the day that wound up like on the Sweden stamp and everything. And it kind of became one of those iconic Olympic moments.
Yeah.
This, to me, that move in this situation, that to me, I think in USA hockey lore, it's going to be talked about in the same way maybe as like Canada's golden goal from Crosby a few years ago, where it's just everybody's going to recognize that play, that move.
Yeah, I absolutely can see that. And fantastic play and move, right? Just remarkable. But a great way to end the game as well. But yeah, I can see the same being true. I know it's one of those things where you look back at these historic games, and that's what you're going to think about for USA.
Yeah. Let's talk about kind of what this game means moving forward. To me, this is I'm hopefully not jinxing myself here, but it does feel like there's kind of a changing of a guard here, because look at the USA women's roster. And Caroline Harvey, who was maybe, I would say, the MVP of the entire tournament. In fact, I think she was named the most outstanding player. 23 years old. You talk about Layla Edwards, 22 years old. Abby Murphy is 23. And you just have so many other players that are 22, 23, 24. This is kind of the next generation of U.S. talent, the women that played such a big role in this tournament. I think it's safe to say they're not even in their prime years yet. Yeah. So I think USA and the level of talent they have, this is kind of the next golden generation for me. And they're going to be really good playing together for a really long time. Yeah. Is this a little bit of a changing guard on the women's side, Greg?
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. I mean, these women are so young, and think about it, in 4 years when this returns, I mean, that's when they're probably going to be more in their prime, if you will, right? Like the 26-27 period is generally when players in hockey generally thrive the most. So for them to be this dominant at such a young age is not only impressive, but it's encouraging for the future for the USA.
Yeah, of course I say that now, and Canada's going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
That's for sure, because, Canada certainly knows how to produce quality hockey players, not just on the women's side, but the men's side. That's right, because the Canada Olympic hockey team is going to be going for a chance to play in the gold medal game today. They're taking on Finland. Our team USA is going to be taking on Slovakia. What are our picks and keys to the game for those games? We'll talk about it when we come back on Locked on Lightning. All right, we're back on Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, let's get to the men's side, the semifinals for the Olympics going on today. We'll start with Team USA against Slovakia. We have Jake Guentzel versus Erik Cernak. Greg, the key to the game for me is simple for Team USA. Find a way to stop Juraj Slafkovsky.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a huge key to this one. Slafkovsky has been unbelievable, and I got to give you one of these, man, because you kind of said this before this all even began.
I said he was the 21-year-old with the most experience in the Olympics. So,
and you know what? He's been that exactly as you described. And yeah, I completely agree. I think you shut him down, and you could probably win this game. I think USA also, it's just about scoring goals. Really, I think if they score a bunch of goals here, it sounds silly, but they got the goaltender, right? So you notch a few goals, I think you kind of destroy this team.
They should. Mm-hmm. They should. And I am prefacing by saying the word should.
Yeah.
Because as good as Slafkovsky is up front, I don't think there's any way that the Slovaks can match the USA depth.
Yep.
And again, I think if you can limit the counter chances for Slovakia, you're gonna have a good opportunity for USA's talent to take over this one. Just one note on Slavkovsky. I would argue, Greg, this is kind of the same argument like we were talking about some of the Lightning Awards last week. Even though there's a couple of players who have scored more points in this tournament than Slavkovsky, Celebrini, McDavid, Lucas Raymond, to name a couple, I would still argue Slavkovsky's been the MVP of this tournament because look how far Slovakia's gotten with as thin of a roster they have, and look at Slavkovsky kind of willing his team to some big points in some of these games.
I couldn't agree more, dude. I mean, he's done so much for this team. Like, he doesn't have the talent around him that the other players you just named have, right?
Yeah.
He's doing this pretty substantially on his own. And yeah, I think, like you said, I don't know if I'm ready to call him an MVP, but for his team, he's the MVP.
Well, it goes into like the most, it's like who's. Like we were talking about this with the Kucherov thing last week. You take him off the team, and does the team crumble? Like, is he most critical to his team's success? I would argue Slavkovsky absolutely is. You take Celebrini and McDavid off of Canada, they're still loaded.
Doesn't matter.
They're still probably at this point.
Right.
So I don't know. For me, he's definitely the definition of most valuable player.
Yeah, you know what? That's a fair point, and I can agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm also going to make a bold prediction here, Greg.
Oh,
I think Jake Guentzel gets a goal in this one.
Okay.
I think after talking about the first block, we think there's more in a tank. I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see a Guentzel goal.
I love that. I'm hoping for the same thing, but I think my prediction is this is going to be a closer game than people think.
I'm going to go 4-2.
Wow, okay. I was thinking something like 3-1, but
okay, so same
kind of the same vein, yeah.
Yeah, don't underestimate the Slovaks. That's all I'm saying.
I think Slavkovsky notches a point of some kind as well.
Yeah, definitely an experienced team for sure, based on their last run in 2022. Let's get to the other game, Greg, and that is Canada versus Finland. And this comes down to one simple thing for me. I still can't figure out Finland, man.
Yeah.
You can tell me that Finland is going to upset Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell me that Finland is going to lose this game 8-0. And in both cases, I would be like, yeah, breaking it down, that makes sense.
Fair.
Yeah. I just can't figure them out. Like, they've had such an up and down tournament. They look like they turned a corner and then almost losing to Switzerland in a game where, quite frankly, they didn't look that great, even though they mounted that comeback late.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, that's part of it. But Greg, the other part is there any chance of slowing this Canadian team down?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm with you though. I think Finland has been so unpredictable in this tournament. It's like hot and cold. But when you play a team like Canada, you can't really be that squad because Canada's just going to roll you. They do it every time, right? I mean, they know what they're doing, and their roster is absolutely monstrous. So if you're Finland and you don't bring that max potential game to this, sorry, but you're toast here. That being said, I do think this has the potential to be a good game. But unfortunately, I think Canada, absolutely takes this.
Yeah, I think Canada's got the skill advantage for sure. And I think it's going to be one of those situations where, look, Finland, let's not overlook Finland. They're stacked with NHL players. Obviously, we talked about them maybe not having the best success on the world stage over the past few years or so. But, you can't, you would look at their lineup and also say, that's a pretty good NHL lineup.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho up front. You've got guys like Rupe Hintz and Timo Teravainen for depth. And I think maybe the key to this game for Finland is how well UC Saros plays.
Yes.
As a former Locked On Nashville Predators host, I can tell you that UC Saros has certainly the pedigree to steal games. And I think how well he does a net, if he can keep this game close, might tell you which way this team goes. I still think, I don't know, I'm going to go maybe 4-1 for the Canadians here. I think it might be close early on. I think it might be back and forth. And then I think the door is going to open for the Canadians. And I think they're going to take over this game as the game goes on.
You know what? You took the words right out of my mouth. I think Saros is one of the biggest X factors in this game. Just a fun little stat for you from the NHL. Saros has the most saves in the NHL right now, and it's not close. He has 1,107 saves, and the next is 1020. It's Amelka, and there's only 4 goalies with over 1,000. Dude is over 1,100. I mean, he is just a monster in net, and I think he has the potential to make some big plays here against Canada. That being said, I'm with you. I think it's going to look a little close in maybe the first period, maybe even just the first 10 minutes. And then I think once Canada gets rolling, this is going to be ugly. I think it's going to be something like, I think I'm with you. I think it's going to be like 4-1. I could even see it being
maybe
4-0.
Maybe 5-1 if they pull the net late.
Yeah, I could see this being a shutout too. So it's going to depend on Saros. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting game for sure. I think...
Like I said, Craig, it could be 8-0 Canada. It could be 3-2 Finland, and I would not bat an eye either way. I would be like, yeah, sure. There's a lot of stuff that could predict that happening.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Olympics in general are pretty interesting as far as predictions. Sometimes it's so clear who's going to win, and sometimes you think and it's just not at all. I think the second game is probably a closer game than this first game with Canada. But again, I could eat my words here. I'm not sure.
We'll see.
You just never know.
Well, Greg, it's obviously Friday. When we come back on Monday, we're going to have a gold medal game to talk about. We're going to know who won the gold, and we're going to have a full recap of that. And you know what else? It'll be game week for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, that's right, because the Lightning are back on the ice Wednesday of next week. We'll, of course, have plenty of coverage to ramp you up for that first game. We'll break down all the bolts in the Olympics. A lot to get to next week when Locked On Lightning comes back. In the meantime, make sure you hit that subscribe button, no matter if you're watching us on YouTube or listening in on your favorite podcasting platform. Keeps you guys in the loop for when we have new content. It also helps us out with our numbers a little bit. So win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. Also, make sure you guys are following us on social media, Locked On Lightning, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much anywhere you scroll. That's going to do it for us on this week's Locked On Lightning. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back next week with new episodes. We'll see you.